1. India, US agree to share military supplies and fuel. GS Paper 2. Bilateral relations involving India. Why recently in news? India and the United States have agreed in principle to sign within weeks or months a Logistics Exchange Memorandum of Agreement, LEMA, to provide supplies and fuel to each other's armed forces from their bases. The agreement is sending clear signals of willingness on both sides to counter the growing maritime assertiveness of China. However, this does not mean stationing of American troops on Indian soil. As and when a situation arises, like an earthquake or a natural disaster, that is when it is directed at. About Logistics Support Agreement, LSA. India and the US have been negotiating the signing of Logistics Support Agreement, LSA, for a decade. It provides support for each other's platform where they need fuel and supplies. The agreement enhances the military cooperation and technology transfer. LEMA is one of 3 agreements, often referred to as foundational agreements. The other 2 are the Communications and Information Security Memorandum of Agreement, SISMOA, and Basic Exchange and Cooperation Agreement, BECA. They also decided to enhance ongoing Navy-to-Navy discussions to cover submarine-related issues, besides deepening cooperation in maritime domain awareness by finalizing a white shipping agreement. What are India's concerns over China's growing maritime assertiveness? Although India does not have a claim on the disputed sea, the growing tensions in the region hold significant ramifications for India. The South China Sea occupies an important place in India's geopolitical cartography, and its maritime interests in the region are twofold. First, its trade with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, and East Asian countries, Japan and South Korea, and second, India's procurement of energy supplies. Both factors play a strategic role in the country's foreign policy. Almost 92 to 95% of India's total trade passes through the Indian Ocean, of which about 55% passes through the Strait of Malacca. In an effort to meet its rising energy demands, India has diversified its energy supply chain, and as a result almost 70% of its oil imports are shipped. This goes some way in validating India's interest in the South China Sea. In the South China Sea, India is involved in activities on the margins of the sea that create clashes with Chinese interests. India's public sector company ONGC is involved in oil and gas exploration in Vietnam's offshore blocks, which are believed by China to be part of its exclusive economic zone, EEZ. This has created a standoff between India and China, resulting in Beijing issuing a warning to New Delhi that any oil and gas exploration work should get approval first from China. With its clear strategic interests in the South China Sea, India has increasingly become vocal and firm in its position vis-à-vis the resolution of disputes in the sea. India's clearly articulated position is that it supports freedom of navigation in the high seas and ensures that all countries in the region adhere to the international conventions on the law of the sea in this issue. In accordance with the UNCLOS, South China Sea is a common sea lane of communication for all countries to use. So, any restriction does raise concerns for India. Conclusion. Given India's economic and security objectives in the South China Sea, it too will have to act proactively to safeguard its own interests. This will require India to facilitate greater diplomatic and security ties with littoral Southeast Asian states like Vietnam, Singapore, Indonesia and the Philippines. Apart from this, India also needs to strengthen its strategic and defense ties with the US, Japan and Australia in order to balance the increasing assertiveness of China in the Asia-Pacific region. 2. Solar boat makes its debut in Andhra Pradesh. GS Paper 3, Conservation. Why recently in news? An eco-friendly solar-powered boat was launched on the pristine waters of River Krishna. There are only a handful of such boats operating on solar power in the country. The 12-seater pontoon-shaped boat can cruise at a speed of 7 knots for an estimated range of over 35 miles. While the boat may not change water travel, it is an effective and attention-grabbing demonstration of the sun's power. Points to be noted. The solar boat, facilitating clean and efficient cruise, has been imported from China. Solar-powered boats get their energy from the sun. Using electric motors and storage batteries charged by solar panels fitted to the roof, these boats can significantly reduce or eliminate use of fossil fuels. The first solar boat designed in India was named Surya, a 25-seater, by Kerala-based Team Sustain in 2008. It operated in the backwaters of Kerala ferrying passengers and in 2010, it was included in the Limca Book of Records as Asia's largest solar-powered passenger boat.